Oh, of course you feel good. It's a short week.
Yes.
And you're listening to us.
Yes.
Damian Barrett shortly.
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot going on. We might have to sort of shape what we do with Damo.
Yes.
Not negatives and positives, because there's just so much news. Yes. News everywhere. It's a great game. And then I think it's a bit of topics bracial, like that.
Yes.
And then second half, feedback with Hose, and then Wil Anderson, one of the all-time greats of the Melbourne Comedy Festival, is going to be in here in the studio, and we're going to ask him if he doesn't mind sticking around for the joke.
Oh, yes, Jim. That'll be good. How are you, Jim?
Oh, no. Well, I'll see you're better.
Why?
Finally, you got a smile on your face.
Can I
flat
just
as a
say,
biscuit.
Jezza. Thank God for Jezza. Just went through the coaches' votes. Jeremy Cameron got 30. 30 votes. Just got 15 from each
30.
coach. He's outstanding. He can do nothing wrong, Jim.
No, star. No,
Just
that, well,
had a baby.
he was good even when you were crap.
Exactly.
in the comment.
Cats are back. I tell you what is interesting, Jim. All roads lead to Adelaide. Round 5, gather round. Looking forward to that.
Yes, please.
6 games at Adelaide Oval over the weekend.
Yep.
Be interested to see how it holds up on Sunday.
I spoke to Damien Hoff about this during the cricket season when it was announced.
Yeah.
And he was very confident they'd have no issue.
6 games is
That's
a
what
lot.
I said to him.
Yeah.
I said, mate, this is the hallowed turf. How many games? He said 6. I said, are you worried? He goes, nope.
Norwood got 2 games.
Right.
Norwood
and then
Open.
one up at Mount Barker.
Mount Barker, Brisbane and North.
Yes.
Sold out, Jim.
Been sold out for 2 months.
Yeah.
So anyone who thinks I can
2,000.
get him a ticket,
No, you can't.
no chance.
What
So
about
don't ask
Norwood
me.
Oval? Is 165 metres long and 110 wide.
I used to go there when I was at Pembroke, which is just down the parade.
wide.
Bill, I used to watch Gary McIntosh and Michael Aish back in the day.
Oh,
When
McIntosh, he was a
the
hard
Red
nut.
Leagues were playing against Port. Well, they were big games, and they used to get the jam about 10,000
so
in
it's
there.
a
But it isn't the big ground. That's true.
Narrowest ground in their sample. Smaller and thinner than the MCG.
Right.
Hello, Ryan.
Close picks it up over the top. Jeremy Cameron. This is fitting. He's going to waltz in, kick goal number 7, and he just caught up by Jezza. He didn't see the goal umpire. He was celebrating, and now he's having a decent Monday hug with him.
Boundary umpire. That was unbelievable.
It
That just lucky they both didn't get injured.
I agree. Had no idea he was there.
No. Well, the boundary umpire should have
Probably
known because
should
Jezza
get
was
out of the way,
celebrating.
yeah, exactly.
But anyway, it was all good. But that was the best moment. You know what the second best moment was?
What?
Jakey Stringer's torp on the run.
Yeah, that was
I
nuts.
love seeing that.
That
That
was
was,
nuts.
fantastic.
Yep.
Anyway, time for... Well,
Now on Triple M's Rush Hour,
hurry up, Bill, and get to the wrap.
it's Billy's All Sports Report.
Damo's coming in very shortly, Jim. I saw his little curl out there at the front of his head.
yes.
We'll talk Paddy McCartin and Buddy, Tom Lynch, Tigers, bit going
well,
on.
that's with Damo, yes.
Gary Mackay and Jezza. We'll talk Jezza and
yep,
Sam
that's all
Doherty.
with
There's plenty of
Damo,
news there.
yep.
Righto, so we won't do that.
No.
Mitch, Sam Doherty, no good. Johnny Rahm, well done, won the Masters, Jim.
Star.
Shot a 69. What happened to Brooks?
Yeah, he fell apart late. The great story was Phil Mickelson, by the way. Everyone thought he was completely done.
Yes.
Before the tournament, he said, "No, I'm hitting it good. I'm ready to go. Stand by." And he came flying home.
What did he do? 65 he shot.
55,
Wow.
up into equal second.
Good on
Nuts.
him.
Yep.
But the live golfers were there, weren't they? Second, third, and fourth, I
Yep.
think, Jimmy boy. So that is good. Poor old Tiger. I saw him walking down the. He was limping. It was terrible.
Well, I've not been there, but everyone who has says the hills, like the ups and downs of that
Yes.
place are ridiculous. So if you factor that into a buggered leg, then it would be hard
no,
over
it
4
was
rounds.
terrible to see. Aussies no good. They were well back. What about Harrison Crowe, our man that hit the golf ball off the footpath
Yes.
over the houses onto the green there at St Andrews? He didn't make the cut, but his mother. Can you believe that? Her name is Shauna. She was at the Masters gym. When the trees come down, she was there watching her son, and the trees come down, uprooted and everything. She was there. Do you know I spoke to her directly?
You spoke directly to Shauna.
And she had this to say. She was a bit worried.
My heart was up in my throat. First you heard this almighty crack. I looked over and saw this big tree toppling. Then you see it falling onto another tree and then another. And my first comment was,
Oh, Shauna.
Shauna.
Yeah.
Geez, it was good quality. You
I
had
know.
a good line.
Well, no,
from
we
Augusta.
just got her this morning. Bloody hard. I had to get in early, 8 a.m. to talk to her, Jim.
Right.
Greg Norman says other states in Australia are lining up to host the future events here. Well, they'd all be lining up. But the Victorian government has balked at partnering with Live because they've got a nice relationship with the PGA Tour. And, of course, the President's Cup's coming here in 2028.
Kingston Heath.
You'd love to see a live golf tournament here, wouldn't you, Jim?
Bill, I'm going to the one in Adelaide. I cannot wait.
Oh, you got
I'm going
tickets.
to the Sunday.
You scammed some tickets.
Didn't scam. I went to a beautiful girl who was able to help me more than you ever
Sally?
do. Sally.
Yeah, good girl. So you scammed them. NRL.
Rugby league.
Thank you. Storm, nice over the tricolours here. 28-8. Cam Munster, he had a monster of a night. 171 metres, 6 tackle bursts, a line break assist, 2 try assists and a try, Jim. Wow.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Storm third on the
Still
ladder.
hasn't taken a breath.
No, he hasn't.
But it wasn't a Good Friday game between the Rabbitohs and Bulldogs game because it was the return of the squirrel grip.
What does that mean?
Well, it was on
Okay.
Good Friday.
Right, okay.
And
There was just too
He's
many
trying to be
games
poetic.
in the
so
sentence.
Josh Reynolds was grabbed by Tom Burgess.
in the old pill bag.
And you won't believe this. I got some audio of this also.
Yeah, I didn't want to see him charged, but I wouldn't have minded a penalty. I'm just surprised he could find them.
That was Joshy Reynolds saying, I'm surprised.
2 bits of audio sound surprisingly like people that work within our office.
I was thinking that.
Who does that sound like? Joshy
Yeah,
Reynolds.
I didn't want to see him charged, but I wouldn't have minded a penalty. I'm just surprised he could find them.
They've got an M. Hayward sitting about it.
Collingwood Magpies are
Yes.
now 2-2. They had a nice win. Vixens, top of the ladder, Jim. Nice win over Sunshine Coast.
Yep.
And the stall gift, the 141st
Yeah, what about that?
stall gift. Ryan Tarrant, he's only 18, Jim.
Oh, Bill.
He won in 12.23
He
seconds.
came from the back of the field.
He did.
Unlike our man Richo,
Yes,
who
exactly.
started and finished within a second.
I got some Richo stuff
Oh,
later on.
good.
5
Like
at
it.
5:05.
5:05.
Yeah, so good win there. Well done,
Was.
Ryan.
Yes, was.
But then what about the girls? 16-year-old Bella Pasquale off. She was off 7.25, Jim.
Yes.
So she won. She defeated Grace O'Dwyer, right? Grace comes second. Bella's mum, Anna, finished second to Grace O'Dwyer 8 years ago.
Wow.
So the daughter's come through 8 years and gone past her and won. How
Nice.
good's that?
That
Isn't
is
that a nice something? There's a word there.
Something.
Something. There's a nice
Serendipitous?
No, I wouldn't have gone with that, Brad. Serendipitous.
I could help you, but I don't
What
even
is
know
the
what you're
word?
thinking. I've got no
Well,
idea.
the mother got beaten, and now the daughter's beat her.
Look
the
at
same
his brain
girl.
ticking over.
So, what's your word?
Moment.
Moment. 13353. Ring us if you can think of the word Bill's trying to find.
Yes.
Because no one in this office, through the glass, the girls, no one can
So
see.
Bella, the daughter, beat Grace, who Grace beat Bella's mum 8 years ago.
So, what's the word Bill's looking for? Tell us.
Not serendipity or whatever.
Damo to join us.
Well, Damo's a journalist. He should know the
Oh,
answer
he
to that.
won't.
Exactly. All right, Purple. We'll just have to use that hasn't happened and move on to a game that is full of news at the moment.
No,
The
I don't
AFL.
know where to start. We normally wrap a roundup, don't we? But given it's a Tuesday, I think we'll just put it all out there in no particular order, but it's all important. So
Yep.
AFL in the last moments have released officially their findings into the Jack Crisp social media photo distribution of last week, Bill.
Yep.
Basically, you can go onto the Collingwood website and the AFL one, have a look what the full statements contain, but basically nothing to see here, move on. Now, that's a quick précis. Part of the AFL statement, Crisp has acknowledged the content and his language, regardless of the setting, was extremely inappropriate. He has issued a public apology via the Collingwood website. You go to the Collingwood statement, officially, Bill, he had sent privately and consensual images to another person in 2018. So I think the use of those...
2018.
18.
So
And
that's
again,
5
private
years.
and consensual. I think that's a key part of it. That once we get the answers to those parts of it, Jim, I think there's not much else to see here.
All
The
right.
conduct was inappropriate, though, and he has acknowledged that.
How do you reckon Tim Payne down in Hobart's viewing this, by the way?
Interestingly, I would have thought, given
So
that
he-
cost him his role and his status as captain
Yeah.
of the Australian cricket team.
And it happens in another code, and
Yeah.
no one's got any reason to look any further into it.
And to your point, just on that, from memory, and you would know it more intimately than me, the story, given your relationship with Tim, but the Australian Cricket Board had already dealt with the
Yep.
issue privately
Had.
and only then sanctioned him because it was made
Yeah,
public.
absolutely.
For no other reasons and
No.
no other additional information.
No,
so,
it was he and that was shamefully handled, in my opinion. I'm not saying what he did was the right thing to do.
No, and he's
but-
not either, no.
And he
Yeah,
acknowledges
no.
that. But to have your position stripped, is just so he will be now looking at this going, please,
yeah.
where are we at?
Well,
point,
this is
Jim.
how big organisations do handle it. And looking at that. Once we knew it was private and consensual in delivery, that was a certain starting point. He's acknowledged that even in a hindsight situation, it's not appropriate. He is seeking further education in that space. And we move on. And from a Collingwood and a footy perspective, that sequence of games of 192 in a row stays intact,
which is good.
And we move on. What else have we got to cover?
Yeah, well, we move on to some injury issues. Been some form-related matters for Buddy Franklin at the Swans this year. He's going to be out for a period of time, and again, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it's going to be, with a knee problem. So how that forward line looks, because arguably their best performance this year came when he wasn't available for a game of footy with Amadi and also Logan McDonald. They've got issues. I know you discussed this briefly, Bill, but the McCartins both going down. And just on that, with Paddy and Tom both suffering head knocks in the most recent game, and the unknown about whether Paddy actually plays again. Tom will miss for the concussion protocols. Can I just dive in there and ask you if you have anything that you're happy to or able to tell the listeners with regards to your connections with Paddy?
I spoke to Lucy, who was very they're very emotional, very upset, obviously, with what's happened. And I suppose it was just so innocuous how the incident happened. So apparently it was pretty good Sunday, the day after. So he was up and about and okay. But what they've got to do is sit down with the good doctors at Sydney. Every club has great doctors. We all know that. And the other doctors that he's worked with before, blokes up here even, and probably have a chat about that. He'll talk to the right people at Sydney. He'll talk to his family, who you really, especially mum and dad, Joe and Maddie. And they were in Geelong. They weren't at the game. And then to see one go down the way Paddy did, but then also Tom, so...
it's hard to relate to that as a parent.
Well, it is.
What they would have gone through on that night.
And everyone was in tears, So it's a very emotional time.
Well,
so
hard enough when you have one concussion.
Yeah.
But when you've had repeat,
That's
then
right.
you start worrying about long-term effects as a parent.
Exactly.
They must be, you just feel for them.
Yeah,
so they'll all sit down and the right result will come. It might take a week or two of just everyone sitting down and doing the right thing.
I'm cognizant. We're not medical experts, and you're right. That's where this story now goes. But we do look at it from what we know, and that being a 10th documented head knock that has now been on his record as an AFL footballer. So you line that up. You line up the fact that with 3.5 years of him not playing at all because of this same situation, and then you then layer it with the litigations that are coming en masse now to the AFL. So the AFL has to get involved to protect itself as well. And that's not to be dramatic about what now lies ahead, Bill. This is the situation. And all that will play out, and I would imagine it would be, I'd be thinking multiple weeks away before we have any form of outcome on any of that. And then you look at the image side of it, Jim. And again, I know I'm getting into a space that is probably borderline my expertise, but how would it be if he was to come back on at some stage this year, next year, whatever stage, and then in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, when we think, hang on, we knew he had 10 concussions in the past, he's come back on and got another one. Now, I know that's taking this story way down the path, but all these decisions have to be, and effectively have to be made in the next.
We just got to trust
sort of time.
the experts.
The experts, exactly right.
We do.
Call. Yeah.
Speaking of injuries,
but hey, before we finish on that, it's why tonight interests me with Harry Mackay, for instance, because finally, and it's taken way too long, 15 years too long, they are taking knocks to the head in football seriously. It's taken. We heard it a year after year, but now they're actually backing it up with their actions at the tribunal. So how do they see that?
Well, for a fourth week, to your point, the Match Review Office has had a crackdown of such actions, now all relating to head contact. In week 1, it was the charge and the bump. In week 2, it was a sling tackle. Week 3, it was a continuation of scope to damage. And now the Sheasel hit by Mackay. Now, as we speak, it's a 1-week ban. They're taking it to the tribunal. I expect him to get off for what it's worth, Jim. I expect Carlton to be able to downgrade the actual contact from the measures that need to take it down.
So for me, looking at it, I'm with you. 5 years ago, I'm thinking, righto, you're not getting a week for that 5 years ago.
Yep.
But under the new microscope, I think they've got to uphold it.
That's where it's going to be interesting.
It's a knock to the head.
It'd be clearer if it was maintained, as in kept for him being a week out. For that messaging that's been put out. And just while we're on the tribunal, Tom Lynch will also tonight take his case up to the tribunal. He's looking at a 3-week ban.
I can't believe that.
Hit on a key.
Straight to the tribunal for that.
Yeah.
I know he's got a broken foot and it won't really matter, but
it's irrelevant to his time returning because of the broken foot. You're right. But to have that on his record, he doesn't want it.
or the gather round. How much time are you spending in Adelaide
I'll
Purple?
be getting there on Thursday, Jim, and then all the way through until
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to work out whether I can say something that
Sunday
involves...
footy show?
Yeah, Sunday footy show. Yeah,
We'll be live over there.
live over
Who
there.
you got? Special guest?
We've got special guests.
Who?
Can I say anything?
Yeah, I think.
Can I?
I don't know.
You're the greatest television SLUT on the planet.
Jim.
You are.
Wow, you can't say
No,
that.
that's exactly what you are. You did the
I'm
front bar
distancing
with
myself
7.
from that word,
Yes.
Jim.
Then you've
Channel
done
10.
Channel 10 News.
Yes.
And now you're doing the footy show.
Yep.
So all 3 commercial networks you've worked for within the last...
And we're going to see who comes to Papa. Comes back Channel 10 tomorrow night too. It's a
So
cross
hang on,
promotion.
Are you just shopping around?
Of course, I'm shopping around.
Not shopping
That-
around.
that
I get
is-
asked.
Anyway, keep going, Purple.
Poetic is another good word. Thank you, Travis from Mildura.
So we touched on the tribunal. Talk about injuries with Buddy Franklin. Sam Doherty's, and he's been through plenty, hasn't he? With knee injuries and more pertinently, importantly, the cancer scares that he has, and more than scares, the cancer ordeals that he's had. But now he's got a meniscus tear, which does require surgery. So probably 6 weeks, the way the Blues are referring to that at the moment. One bit of good news, though, from that perspective, Sam Walsh most likely returning for the Thursday night game.
Fair dinkum.
And just one more bit of injury before we get to the gather round. The Tigers, we saw that Lynch, obviously, tribunal and broken foot, Nankervis, syndesmosis. Graham is out for some time with a hamstring, and they've still got other issues with Short, Tarrant and Gibcus. So their season is in a precariously placed state.
Did we just see that Ben Mackay may be coming back?
No, Jim.
So if Harry, if they don't get him
I
off,
told you. I'm not
then
saying anything.
Harry's out and Ben's back.
I told you this 2 years ago. I told his
No,
mother.
it's caught on too.
His mother,
Like
not
the,
there.
The build
his
up
mother.
to Good Friday, it was mentioned twice in the
Oh,
coverage.
fair
It's
dinkum.
actually caught on, this thing.
No, it has.
But Will works with them both on the podcast.
No, he doesn't.
No, it does.
He does.
One's a poster or a thing.
right, gather round, Purple.
Hey, Richmond, Sydney. What about that game at Adelaide Oval? Big game
Sold
for both
out.
sides. So no McCartins, no Nank, no Tom Lynch. This is a big
and
out.
no Buddy now
Yeah,
too. Which,
and Buddy, yes.
it's a
Wow.
massive game. Look, it's really generating genuine interest, isn't it? And when the AFL fixtured it, I mean, there's no doubt they would have put some lesser light games in this round because they want to keep the big teams having the big games in their home stadiums. So. But having said that, as it's unfolded, as it's transpired, the Collingwood St Kilda game, there's as much intrigue around that game, I feel, on the Sunday of this...
Match of the round.
Not just match of the round, I reckon it's match of the fortnight or even season in some anticipatory way.
Season. Don't go...
thus far.
It's pretty big, Bill. It's
what
pretty
he's saying.
big. I mean, it's pretty big what's happening right now
You've
with St
already
Kilda.
got the worst ideas. Number one for the
I'm
worst
talking
ideas.
about
So the match
anticipation.
of the season.
Well, it's 1v3 for starters on the ladder.
Oh, Damian.
Well, what are you going to go with the 17v18 Hawthorn v Geelong one from
No,
yesterday?
I'll go. Well, that was actually a good win by the 18th side. But match of the round, we'll go with Damien, which is
Oh,
a
it's
very
clearly
good.
the match of the round.
Yes, it is. It is. So
Yeah, and there's only
how's the
been-
ground going to
only
be
been 4 rounds.
after 6 games? I asked him this.
Well, I reckon they're pretty good these days, aren't they? They stood
lot
up
of
after
footy.
the concerts that everyone was worried about, wouldn't they, at the start of the year? So, look, that's a massive game. And just to your point, Jim, about the Adelaide Carlton starting it, I think that's a great way to start it on the Thursday as
Yep,
well. So,
no doubt about it.
4
And then-
games have been sold out,
yeah.
and another couple nearly sold
Yep.
out.
Well, the magnificent drawing North Melbourne managed to sell a game out.
Yeah, 2,800 or something. Out
Don't know how many Mount Barker holds,
Mount
but
Barker.
she's been sold out for months. Clarko's just got the sizzle back into the joint.
Well,
Oh, you're a
is that
chance.
what that's going to hold? 2,800?
I don't know how many people it holds.
No.
Mount Barker. I think a few more, actually. We shouldn't
Do you?
say that.
Few more.
But you're a chance because Brisbane aren't at the Gabba. They're going to only win at the Gabba.
Look, the part just back on the St Kilda team. Mitch Owens' story is a ripper, isn't it? And the role that he played on the weekend. And look, as we speak right now, we don't know who's the rising star out of the round, but it's going to be unlucky if it's not him.
Wow.
Last year, because Fred's my youngest is in the Dragons Pathway sort of squad thing, and they had their jumper handout last year, and I turned up for it, and he got up and spoke, and I backed myself to have a fairly good knowledge of lists and people. He spoke for 5 minutes. I looked at the stage, I had no idea who this bloke is.
Yeah.
Never seen him before in my life.
Yeah.
And he played the next week, and obviously I realised who it was, and he is a beauty.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
a ripper.
Yeah.
Yeah. We won the Sunday Footy Show a couple of weeks ago, and he's just so outgoing and so carefree but respectful,
Yeah.
and you can see why they've embraced him. And the responsibilities that he's undertaking now are working beautifully for what they're
Yep.
all about. So
Is it
Ross the
Rain?
boss.
Yeah, Ross has been unbelievable.
Yes.
He just asked for an effort.
Yep.
That's all he asks.
That's all he asks.
And they come and it's a nice team effort there at the minute. It's going to rain.
What's a better game to this point of the season, Bill? Just
Well,
He
this
hasn't been able to find one.
This is a good game.
It's a very good game.
But I would have thought the Gabba, Collingwood and Brisbane was a good game last week.
Yeah, that'd be in the conversation.
Oh, there you go, sucked in. There's rain, is there? There's going to be some rain on Friday and Saturday in Adelaide.
Right, because one of the broadcast boxes are open air, apparently, Bill.
Oh, no.
Oh, and
So-
Chief
no.
Actually, Chief.
is out with the crowd,
Yeah.
Jim.
The Chief.
We'll hear something at 5.
Excuse me.
5:05. What about that? 170,000 seats tickets have been sold.
Mhm.
South Australia have taken 67% of those. 20% Victorian, Jim. And guess what teams travel the best out of the Victorian teams?
To Adelaide?
Yes.
Mhm.
Carlton.
Yeah.
And then, it's a big four. Carlton, Collingwood, Geelong and Richmond.
The big
The big four.
13% of the rest
four.
of the country.
Yep.
Okay, and
Yep.
then there's 152 people from international. That's what it says. That's what it says. 152 people from international.
International.
So it's going to be great. It will be good, and it's got to be good so they can keep it. Yeah.
As a big goal kicker from way back, Bill.
Oh,
Yes,
don't even
yes, don't.
start.
Let him go. It's a very good question so
Don't
far.
even start.
I always thought we would never see 100 goals in a season again. Are we going to see it?
Well, if Jezza keeps going.
Well, he's sitting on 18.
Yes. Who else we got up there?
Kerno's on 16.
Where? They'll be out of those two.
And the extra round, though, Jim, actually, I think makes it
Yeah, possible.
possible. Yeah.
Does. That would help.
I mean, a full extra game, and as we know, if you're going to make a grand final, you're going to play at least 3 finals as well to add to the 23. So both those teams are thinking right now they're going to be there.
Well, to be honest, if you kick 100 goals, you play 23 rounds
23.
this year.
Yep.
Only 4.3 a game.
That's it. That's within the home and away season. You've still you
Yeah,
could have 3
finals.
games beyond that, and 4 if you lose your first final with a double chance. If
I
you can
don't-
then get through.
I'd love to see it. I'm not sure if we will. But
Yeah, I'm
certainly
saying.
80 or
We've
90.
said it before where they've got away early, but I heard you talk about him before. But what Cameron is doing, it was extraordinary last year, and he's somehow gone to another level this year, off an already very very lofty base.
Unbelievable. But he's just had a kid, so he wouldn't be getting a lot of sleep. He can play golf. He loves his shooting, his camping,
Fishing.
fishing.
He got his
He can run.
premiership medallion back yet off the cow he
He's
put it
got
on.
cows out there he's looking after. Good looking.
He's in good touch.
Oh.
His hands are beautiful.
Mate,
He's not double grabbing anything.
No. But he also he glides, doesn't he? He doesn't run. He glides across the
beautifully.
ground. So where are the buses?
Oh, hello. It sounds good every week. That bus.
We've made an executive decision of the bus company to get them back from all the parts of the country, to get them back into Melbourne, service them, and then send them across to Adelaide because there's a few clubs that need to be looked at closely.
Oh,
and
this is for the gather round?
go
or?
around.
Right,
We'll be
I see.
checking buses into the hotels in which Gold Coast and GWS are residing, Jim. And these newest AFL clubs need to be looked at.
Performing better.
Before this season gets away from them totally.
He's
So,
the coach.
if it
wasn't
hasn't
happy.
already. No,
What
he
about wasn't he happy at 3/4 time?
Adam Kingsley you referred to?
Kingsley, wasn't he having a crack? I love that.
Jeez, I wish he hadn't said his name.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it, Jim. Oh, Kingser.
That's what we meant to do here.
Old
Kingser.
Kingser.
All right, Purple.
Had a
Well, we will
haircut, have
see you
Yeah.
over in Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Yes.
Done. See you then.
Have a haircut.
Wil Anderson.
Not only a good friend of the show, great friend of the station, of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
thank you very much for having me. And Bill, what a great honour that you're actually here.
I know.
Because I've been listening to the Saturday Rub and you haven't managed to make one of those this year,
I
have you?
have. I actually have. but
Always off to a nice start.
How'd you get in today? Did they lure you in with a little envelope full of cash? Because that's the only reason you go somewhere, isn't
Petrol money.
it? Petrol money.
Petrol money.
Is that
I
what
went
it
to
is?
Yarrawonga the other day and just got an envelope for petrol money.
It was petrol, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well, get across Will the one. I'm sure you're listening. Where he had a horse racing in Sydney. The race, the horse jumped at 5:15, and yet he couldn't be on our show, which finished at 1:30.
I know. You see, you could have actually been in Melbourne at 1:30.
Yeah.
You could have got on a plane. You still could have got to the horse race
Easily.
with an hour to spare.
Planes are so late nowadays.
And by the way,
they
mate,
don't go on time.
I know they don't go on time, but why do you need to be there for the horse race, by
'Cause
the
they-
way?
he
You
wants
know
to
they
s-
broadcast horse races. I know you know that because you're always watching them when you're meant to be doing the quiz on Saturday.
Shut up, Will. Don't stop listening to the bloody rub, will you? Hey, how you going? First show? It's
Yeah,
like round
first show
one.
tonight.
Round one.
Round one.
Do you get Toey?
Well, I mean, I like to think that this is it doesn't get me in that mood, Bill. No, is that what you mean?
Oh, hang on. Do you get nervous?
I mean, it'd be weird if it got me a bit tired. I mean, that's an hour that you need to get people to look in your face. But no,
That singer does. What's the Irish bloke that does the dancing? He bowls 3 over when he's done.
oh, Michael Flatley, you're talking about.
that's him.
Good topical material there, Bill. Lord of the Dance. He hasn't been around for about 30 years.
You know
but-
why? Because he is literally.
Oh, God.
But it is good. It's nice to see you,
Yeah,
mates.
sorry,
and
round one.
also lovely to see you as well, JB, or as I like to call you now, Yoko. Of
Yoko,
course.
yes.
Yoko, because of your great reaction when the lights went out of the camera.
Oh, no.
Well, they whacked another one in there, so they made it a double on
Did they?
which didn't actually
Did they whack
happen.
another one in
They
there?
had to have.
Really?
No. I can't have said it twice.
Murray Tregonning from AAS Saturday was involved in the broadcast, was he? Yeah, you doing a Joe the cameraman?
Let's have a listen, Will, see how many there is.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That
second one's been
There was an echo. I think it was an echo.
Matty
That's what it
Haywood
was.
in our booth.
Yeah.
You know, the next day someone told me that had become a thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware that I'd said it.
Meme.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Mate, that's what I like though. But that's quite cool in a crisis. Do you know what I mean? That's what I like about it. There was an element of like you haven't absolutely fallen apart. You haven't forgotten that you're on air in that situation.
Oh, you know, there was
You've just reacted in the same way as maybe like you were getting like a lamb chop off the barbecue and it's fallen on the grass. You know
the other funny bit which people don't know is that obviously the ground all went to black. Most of our commentary box did too. And Brian was sitting next to me, and his box in front of him completely crapped itself.
Yeah.
So he was talking the whole time. No one could hear a word.
But we can hear you say, oh, no.
And then I'm looking at him, he's talking, nothing's in my ears. I'm like, oh, this is
Brian would have hated that.
Now, tell me.
Anyway, do you get nervous?
Oh, do I get nervous a bit? Thanks, mate. I appreciate that you're the professional.
Oh, I'm
That's
trying
how
to bring
bad
it
this
back.
is going. That Bill is the one who's trying to get it back on track. Okay, yes, I am. I don't get nervous really. The only thing, I did this show in Darwin the other night. Here at the Comedy Festival in Melbourne, you've got 60 minutes and like there's another act on after you, so you've got to make sure that you stick to your 60 minutes.
Yes.
And the last time I did this show was in Darwin a week ago and it went an hour 45.
Ooh.
So that's the only thing I'm nervous about tonight is how can I jam an hour and 45 into 60 minutes?
But, Will, there must be an element because, and I'm not pissing in your pocket, because you're so good at it and have done it for so long, you must know when you go there tonight that 99 out of the 100 people, or 400 out of the 401 people love what you do and really want to hear your gig. You know what I mean?
In
People aren't
fact, 800 out of the 801 people.
Whatever the number
let's not make it an
99.
option.
Yeah, they're not experimenting. They're not going, I might just go and see what this bloke. They know you're good.
Well,
so
I think
they're there to enjoy it.
On the first night in particular is what I will say. Like, you do a whole bunch of shows. At some stage, there's going to be some speculators. But like the people who come on the first night, yes, like you look forward to it. This is my 27th year doing the festival, and it was always my dream to do the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. That was my absolute aspiration. And so every time I get to come back here and I actually just get to go and be part of this, like to me, this is the best comedy festival in the entire world. Like we talk about, Melbourne as being this sporting capital, and of course it is, but Melbourne is also a cultural capital, and this comedy festival is world-renowned. It is one of the only places that lets all the acts do a 60-minute show. Mm-hmm. Often if you're at another festival, you're doing shorter spots or you're on line-up shows. This one says to young artists, you can do your 60-minute show. People will come along and see it. They create this environment. Good. To have been able to be part of that for nearly 30 years, it's not very funny for me to say this, but it is a great honour. Like it feels like a great honour, and I'm always excited to come back here for it.
So if you listen to rock artists talk about the one place that they go and play at where it's just completely insane, whether it's Springsteen or the Stones or Pearl Jam or AC/DC, they all say River Plate Stadium in, I think it's Argentina, and it's because the fans there are completely insane. Like the song starts and they sing the guitar line. What is it with your, because you're now all around the world, where do you go and go, you know what, the people that come in this city are insane?
Well, it's funny that I was literally just there last week, Darwin.
No.
They are...
What's the dress code?
There is no dress code. Absolutely, there's no dress code. It is one of the only fancy theatre venues where, like, everything is like a cocktail. Like, you know, they won't even let you, like, beer is like serving soft drink. That's your soft drink option, is your beer.
Yeah.
And then everything is just hardcore for the audience. Every night is Saturday night. The only night you don't want to do a show there is Saturday night. Because that's too much. Then it turns into the wrestling. But, yeah, it is. I mean, I love Darwin. It is Australia's version of the Wild West.
Yeah,
and you do get up there and there's just like something in the air with that just, it's a bit dangerous and it's a bit fun and I really like it.
Gee, they'd be different crowds compared to, say, Canberra, one of our favourite spots, Jim, where you went to study. You went to Canberra and
I went
studied.
to, Bill, what's going on with you today?
What?
Like, I don't like this level of research that you're bringing to the show. You've barely messed anything up at this stage. Have you ever seen that movie Flowers for Algernon where that
No.
Oh, anyway, it's about this really kind of slow guy who he's dying, but he gets smarter and smarter as he's dying.
Really?
And I'm just a little bit worried about you.
Of Mice and Men.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Now
Bill.
okay.
Drag into his literary
Oh,
background.
Bill, we're gonna have to take you for a little walk out into the paddock, Bill.
First one of the week, too.
All right.
Dorothy and Edna, two senior widows. We're just having a nice little cup of tea. Well,
Okay.
Dorothy, that nice George Johnson asked me out for a date. I know you went out with him last week, and I wanted to talk with you before I give him an answer. Edna, well, I'll tell you. He shows up at my apartment at 7 p.m. on the dot, dressed like a gentleman, in a fine suit, and he brings me such beautiful flowers. Then he takes me downstairs, and there's a limousine, a chauffeur. Then he takes me out for dinner, a marvellous dinner. Well, lobster, champagne, dessert, and after dinner drinks, we go to see a show. Let me tell you, Dorothy, I enjoyed it so much I could have just died right there and then. So then we get back in the limo and we come back to my apartment and he turns into an animal, completely crazy. He tears off my expensive new dress and has his way with me 3 times. Dorothy, goodness gracious me. So you're telling me I shouldn't go? Edna, no. I'm just saying, don't wear a new dress. Wear the old dress. Will, what do you think about that?
I think the same thing as I thought when I once drove to Alice Springs. I've gone a long way for not much.
Now that's funny. That deserves some plastic.
Yeah, plastic.
Well, not Bill's joke.
This is Will's plastic.
Again saved
Well
it.
done, Will. Plastic. There we go. 1 from 1. Will and
That's
Bill.
Will's plastic.